welcome to another episode of Fast Trax Live here on Wednesday night. Thanks for joining me. My name is Paul Abernathy. If you're not familiar with who I am the CEO and founder of Electrical Code Academy. I've been teaching the National Electrical Code and all things electrical for over 32 years. And I am a master electrician in multiple states. And I serve on Code Making Panel 5 and 17 for the development of the National Electrical Code. But most importantly, we come here on Wednesday nights for you, the Fast Trax student, and those that like to watch and listen in as we examine your course material, answer any questions you might have in the Fast Trax program. And tonight's episode, a couple of things I have to get out of the way first. But tonight's episode, we will be doing the standard portion, and we'll be doing the first portion, one portion of Unit 11, not both portions, just one portion, but for time constraints. But I also want to remind everybody, or I don't know if it's remind everybody, there is not going to be any class for the next 2 weeks after tonight. Reasoning is, I'm in Vegas next week, and I just don't have the equipment to be able to do the stream. And I'm busy out there at a solar show. If you're out there, look me up. I'll be at the Encore Wire booth, so you'll be able to find me. And if you happen to be out there and you find me and you're in the area and you want to go out to dinner, holler at me. I'm there from the 11th until the 14th, so I would love to take you out to dinner. And then the next week, I'm actually going to be in New York for a court case that I'm serving as an expert witness on. So that means next 2 weeks I will not have a show, but there will be something previous or something that you can watch that will be set up. So there will be something in the time slot for you to watch. Again, it might be one of my videos that's only available over on the Fast Trax tube, but since I'm away, I might share that for the stream for everybody. So got that going on. But tonight we're going to be looking at Unit 11, multifamily. And we're going to be looking at the first part of a standard calculation. All right, so good thing to remember about the calculations that we're going to do tonight, that it doesn't matter whether or not we change the variables. The concepts are exactly the same, okay? So we just want to keep that in mind. Before I get into this, I want to do, as always, I want to go get some shout outs to those that are in the house. And let's see here. JW couldn't stick around, but I'm glad you could drop in and say hey. Let's see. Dustin, good evening. Oh, welcome. Karen, welcome. Karen, I got you in both places. You're in LinkedIn and you're over on YouTube. Red Dog, Russ, thanks for joining me as well. Alberto, Adam, give me a shout out, folks. Let me know you're here. Love seeing you in here. So, Sneed World, welcome. Keith, welcome. All right. So, Kyle, thanks for joining. And if I miss anybody, we'll catch you back up as I see you come in. Okay. A couple things that we want to do, folks. We want to make sure we've got our code books. We've got our scratch paper. Won't take a lot tonight. Believe it or not, if you're in the Fast Trax program, what's up, Russ, over on LinkedIn? Welcome. David, CMECP in the house. Freeland, thanks for joining me as well. A couple things to remember. For those that are going through the Fast Trax program, if you were able to do Unit 8 and kind of didn't have any trouble, whatnot, with Unit 8, which is single-family dwellings, multifamily dwelling is not going to be any more difficult for you. It's just the number, right? Instead of it being 1 unit, you might have 8 units, right? Oscar, thank you, sir, for liking the stream. I appreciate you. And welcome to the stream. So again, a lot of times when it comes to multifamily, it gets overwhelming for folks. So what we're going to do, though, is when we do Unit 11, and we're going to do the standard method, and then we'll do the optional method in later weeks. And then what we're going to do is we are going to also do an example of three-phase application where you have single-phase loads and then you have ultimately the service is three-phase. That is not nearly as complicated as people want to make that to be, okay? But we'll cover those in upcoming episodes. Remember, this is an ongoing series for me. So again, you got to make sure you keep coming, stay in tuned, and see what we're going to cover. But again, it's just ongoing topics, and I want to knock out the multifamily. And we're going to start out with the very simple tonight. Probably what you're going to see on the exam, if you get any multifamily stuff, it's going to be a 122 40 volt 3-wire system. And in our example tonight, it's going to be 8 units. So it's an 8-unit apartment complex. And in the real world, you're probably going to be using the optional method for this, right? But again, we definitely want to make sure that we understand the standard method, because what the key to everything, right, is learn the standard. The optional makes you feel warm and fuzzy. At the end of the day, when you do the neutral, you're going to have to use the standard method, okay? So it's just one of those things that we need to be aware of. Let's see, Rewire, welcome. Loving what you're doing over on the TikTok thing, the China platform. David P., welcome again. Freeland says that he took his residential wireman's exam yesterday and I passed. Congratulations. Hold on, I got stuff for that here. Congratulations. Again, getting out there, making that money. Remember, now, I always tell people, when you get your license, that's where the learning begins, right? Everybody thinks it's leading up to your license, right? Nope. Once you get that license, then you get some of that responsibility. Now people are looking at you to be a leader, somebody to take the bull by the horns. And now it's very incumbent on you to make sure that you keep learning. And then if you see somebody that you can impose that knowledge on, that expertise on, it's your duty now. People say that electricians and inspectors aren't educators. That's full of crap. You are always an educator. Now, how good you communicate or how truthful and factful the crap you educate, and I should say crap because everything this is an oxymoron right there. Not everything majority of the stuff I see on a lot of these social media platforms, other than yours, Rewire, other than the bearded inspector, other than Angry Sparky, other than those type of things, I tend to question, okay? But at the end of the day, there are still some good guys out there doing some education, and that's what we need. So Freeland, congratulations. Now it's your responsibility to pass on that knowledge to somebody else and make sure you keep that circle going, passing on the goodness of this industry. I've been in this industry, like I said, for over 30 plus years. I love it as much today. Granted, I don't crawl in the crawl spaces and I don't climb through the attics like I used to. But I love it just as much as I ever have. I love interacting with electricians and whatnot all over the country. So, again, love it. And I most certainly love it when somebody's in my program and they succeed. I love it. I love living vicariously through other people and seeing their success, that type of thing. Okay. Let's get a couple things we want to get out of the way. Again, I remind you, and I remind all you folks again, that we will have a break for 2 weeks after tonight. We won't have a next Wednesday or the Wednesday after, because I'm on the road traveling. But we'll have something in this time slot. Okay, so don't worry, there'll be some education here. Maybe something I select from over on my Fast Trax Tube. Also about Fast Trax Tube, again, I don't want to be a sales thing. But what I want to remind you is that we did lower the price on the Fast Trax Tube. Sorry, it's kind of like sales. If you got in at the one price and now it's a little lower, I can't help you. It just happened to be what it be. We lowered that down, and we did add a monthly subscription option for those that are interested in Fast Trax Tube. And we just finished adding all of Ryan Jackson's series today of his 2023 changes. Great series, great guy, great educator, so you might want to check that out, okay? Dustin, when it comes to the neutral, that question that you're asking about, it wanted to know what the neutral contribution was. If you round it up, that's not the contribution. The contribution is the actual neutral load. okay? And that load is 14.58. I would not round it up because that would not be the actual neutral contribution. That's what was unique about that question, okay? It was asking about the contribution of the neutral, okay? That's the difference. Any other time when we have amps and we're sizing conductors and sizing other things, ungrounded conductors, we most certainly is 0.5 and greater, we round up when it comes to amps. But in this case, that question that you're talking about, for those that are in the program, it's Unit 8, Question 6, right? Then that was the neutral. It wanted to know what the neutral contribution was. And any rounding of that would not be the actual neutral contribution, okay? Totally different type of question, right? Totally different type of question if I'm asking you an ampacity question and you're going to round up, okay? Those type of things, right? Let's see what we got. Eric's in the house. Eric, let's see here. Let's see here. What do we got? Jesse, easy. He said easy on the horn tonight. Sorry, Jesse. And Jesse keeps busting my chops about the wonky questions in our quest bundle. We have 8 questions. Y'all aware of it. Most of you are aware of them. In our database, not the new database we put up, but in the existing database, there's about 8 wonky questions, and I can't change them for copyright reasons. So consider them a badge of honor if you can find them. But it is very few, but they're in there. A couple of them in there. They won't let me change them, folks. I can't change them, but they're there to help you. So, that type of thing. So, Jesse, you did find it, so congratulations. Walter, passed inspection today on a multifamily apartment upgrade. Congratulations. I'm going to save the horn for Jesse. And no, Jesse, no, I did not get any new sounds. I keep saying that each week, but I just get so inundated. I will tell you folks right now, the Electrical Code Academy is just freaking, it's going nuts. Not so much the exam prep, but the other stuff. The 2023 stuff is starting to drop. So the residential one's out. The commercial 2023 dropped. And I'm expecting in the next month we'll be ready to launch our 2023 bundles again. We're not ready yet because the grounding and bonding is not done yet. But I can tell you, we've been dropping stuff left and right. But if you're interested, if you're a residential or commercial electrician, we do have the 2020 edition of our Fast Trax red and green program available. That's up there. Okay, enough of that. Enough of the sales pitches for tonight, I guess. Okay. Tim in the house. Hey, Tim, a blast from the past. Okay, welcome. All right, let's see here. Who's not here tonight that's usually always here? Swartzy. Swartzy's usually always here. So, I'm going to cut a Swartzy slack tonight. Probably just taking a break. He's a busy guy. So we're all busy, but Swartzy's doing all kinds of things. And his wife was sick last time I talked to him, so I hope she's doing better. I most certainly hope she's doing better. Yes, you are the original gangster. You are back from Code Strong. Oh, another announcement. We are getting new stickers made. It's going to be a bit, not too long, but we're going to get stickers made. Of course, when we do that, we will let you all know. Y'all will see any new stickers. I should also mention, I guess, because I got to mention it. We have Ted. I see you there, Ted. Oh, TikTok King ain't here. Yeah, Jay does his own thing. He doesn't really come to much of my stuff anymore. He's moved on beyond me, I guess. But what I was going to tell y'all is Electrician Pride is back up for those that are interested in hats like these, the journeyman hats. Again, we re-looked at the pricing structure, and some of the stuff is a little high, but again, it's one-off stuff and it's custom made for electricians, and and all of the graphics, other than just text, of course. But this is embroidered, by the way. Other than that, these hats, these y'all can't get these unless you're a CMECP, but they're really nice. But we have all kinds of stuff. Shirts, hats, whatever. If you're interested in mugs, we have a collection of shot glasses. Not shot glasses, I'm sorry. pint glasses with some very special designs that I came up with that's going to be coming soon. So again, all that's over at electricianpride.com. Yep, it's back. You can thank one of your Fast Trax brethren, I should say, for getting us to bring Electrician Pride back. I was not going to do that, but he really gave me a compelling and said, look, we can't find stuff that is dedicated just for electricians. So there you go. Richard, thanks for coming. Glad you're here. Okay. All right. One other announcement is a purge did take place. So for folks out there whose course is over 12 months, unfortunately, the purge took place and you're out. If anybody got purged by accident, because it can happen, just reach out to us and just send us a copy of when you purchased it. And if you can't get into your Fast Trax and it hasn't been a year, then trust me, if you can't get in, it's probably been a year. But if we did it by accident, I did find somebody today who got purged, and we was able to get them back in. That's not a problem. Hey, Van Man, you're not late, on time. I hadn't even started the lesson yet, but welcome. Paul, what do you think of working in a refinery? Hey, work is work, brother. Wherever the work is. Sorry for my dogs there. Wherever the work is, you do it. And if the pay makes it worthwhile, you do it. I don't have any problem with it at all. Today, everybody be happy we have jobs and we're able to feed our families, because for us that aren't as hurting as bad, the economy seems okay. But for a lot of people out there, it's getting bad. And the fault of mask mandates and shutting down our country, I don't even want to go there. We can't take another hit like that. I'm just saying. I just don't think we can. Let's see. Eric had a question. Hey, Paul, if we have time, can you go over Unit 8, Question 10? I failed the unit review, taking it again. So the question is, Eric, did you get below 70? Because if you got above 70, you would have been given the answer. But if you got below, then obviously that's why you have to do it again. We can go look at that if you want to look at question 8, Unit 8, Question 10. Okay, if you want to, we'll do that right now. Okay, let's see here. Let's go look real quick. See if I can get it set up here real quick. And you're in 2017, so hold on for a second, folks. I'm going to do this on the fly, so just bear with me. I'm going to see if I can get to this unit for Eric, and we'll try to see if we can't sort it out. All of y'all, again, this is what we do when we're doing these units. And also remember, I should remind you, Eric, that in the 2017, in Unit 8, there's actually a webinar replay that shows you how to do the standard method and all that kind of stuff in there. So make sure you have watched it. Oh, you're in the 2020. Okay, hold on. Let me shift gears on that. Then I thought I saw 17 up there. No worries. Let's go back to the 2020. I was already in the 2020, so that's good. Remember, folks that are tuning in that aren't familiar with us on here on Wednesday night, this is 100% for my students and people that support us. So even though we open the door and let everybody in, this is really no different than my closed session that I did for students for years. But now we've just made it public, and they still get to ask their questions on what unit they're working on. And they are most certainly my number one focus. Okay, most certainly. All right, so let's look here. Let's see if we can't get which one was it, Eric? Again, let me look real quick. Is number 10. Okay. All right, number 10. All right, so let me see if I can share the lesson with you. We'll see what it does here. All right, so it's this one right here. It's going to be hard for folks to see. I will only zoom in enough. Hopefully that makes it a little easier to see right here. If you can see it. Okay. Let's see here. Let me go see if I can't make it. Let's see if it lets me make it any bigger. That's probably the best. That's probably the best it's going to get. Okay. All right, so this is your question, Eric. Now, I shudder to explain this one to you because you've got to retake the unit. It's kind of like cheating, but we'll do it anyway. All right, so what we see here is I have one family dwelling, and it says that it has six 3 kW electric wall heaters with individual thermostats. Okay, so there is 6 3 kW wall heaters, 6 of them, and each one are 3 kW. Okay, and then I have 5 room air conditioners. Okay, so I've got the heat and the AC. Okay, so all of that stuff's here, and we'll look at all this stuff separately real quick as well. But first thing I like to do is, what is this question going to ask me? What is it asking me? All right, it says, a service calculation is being performed using the optional method. Okay, so it's an optional method calculation. How many volt amperes should be included after demand factors? So we're going to apply any of the demand factors that are applicable, especially with the optional method. Okay, for the heating and air conditioning. And again, assuming the kW ratings is equivalent to kVA. Okay, Jesse, thank you for the like. Appreciate it. Again, likes help us out, folks. If you're watching, give us a like. I don't think it works unless you're on YouTube, so whatever platform you may be working on. All right, so the first thing I want to do, let's look at this heat. If we look at the optional method, and we're going to look at the optional, so let me get the optional method up here on the code book real quick. So let me pull the code book up real quick. Just remember what we're dealing with. We'll come back. But we're trying to look at the difference for the optional method. We're looking at the difference between AC loads and heating loads, and we're going to take whichever is larger, right? And you might have been looking at this, and oh, he's on Facebook, and it still worked. All right, Jesse, appreciate you. I guess the likes come through no matter what platform you are. So if you like it, thumbs up, help a brother out. All right, and I will even forgive Jesse. I will. Here you go, Jesse. All right, so me. All right, so let's see here. Let's go down to 220. Now we're going to go down to the optional method. Okay, so that's part 4, right? So let's go down to the optional method, if I can find it right here. Okay. So we're going down to the optional method. So it's a one family dwelling. So we're going to go down to, oops. There we go, right here. So we're in a dwelling unit. Chase, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. And I don't know if I saw you come in the room, Chase. Thank you. Glad you're here. All right, so here's our dwelling unit, 220.82. We're obviously we're in the optional because that's what the question said. We'll go look at the question here in a second. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit for you. Make it a little easier on y'all's eyes. Because I know it's hard to see. Okay. Oh, you don't get the bling. Oh, but you get the like, but I get the bling. So there you go. I hear you. That's Facebook for you. You know what? They don't want to give anything. All right, so we got the dwelling unit. And so now we're not worried about this part, right? Because that's not part of our question, the general loads. This was only asking, Eric, about the heating and air conditioning. So we get to jump down here, right here, right there. So we're at C. So the first one's easy, right? Is basically we're saying, okay, well, do we want to do the AC or do we want to do the heat first? Right? Which do we want to do first? Well, let's go on and add up the heat and get that over with first. Okay? All right? So what do we got? We have 6 of them, and we had what? Let's go look real quick. We had 6 of them, and they were 3 kW each. Okay? So 6 times 3 equals what? Come on, y'all can do it with me. 6 times 3 is 18. So that's 18,000 watts or 18 kW. Okay, so we got that. So that's our heat first. Now, what did it say in the optional method? Now we get to work the code. And remember, it said after demands, right? So now we're going to look at it and we're going, okay, well, First thing is, let's see here. What do we got going on? Well, electric space heating, 4 or more separately controlled units. Well, what did our question say? Our question said we had 6 3 kW in the individual thermostats. So they're each separately controlled, Eric. So we get to apply 40%. So that 40% gets applied to that 18,000, right? Makes sense? All right, not 65. Where are you getting the 65 from? That's for less than 4. We have 6 of them, bruh. Maybe that's where you went wrong. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful, right? So we're down here, right here, okay? We have 4 or more, right? 4 or more. So we have that 18,000. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our calculator and get rid of this memory thing. I don't know what that happened there. All right, so I'm going to take 18,000 times 0.40, and that's going to give me a total of 7,200. So I'm going to write that down, 7,200. Okay, watts. So that's my heat. Wow. That's quite a bit of a drop, isn't it? Just when everybody would have thought heat easily would have been the big one, right? So far, but no. So write that down. So that's your first part. So that's the heat. Okay, so see what I've done here? There it is. Wrote it down. Let's move on to this AC here. So let's go back and see what we got in the lesson. All right, so we're done the heat part. So now we have 2 conditioners rated at 10 amps at 230 volts. Well, this is easy for us. We don't have to go anywhere, do we? Well, we can just do what? Take it, let's see here. It says, what do we got here? 2 air conditioners rated at 10.5 amps at 230. So it's 2 times what? 2 times 10.5, because there's 2 of them, times 230. 4,830. Okay, there you go, Eric. Now you're getting it. All right. So that would be, but we got to work it out, Eric, because now we got to do it for everybody now. All right. So those 2 10.5 amp ones, their total is 4,830. Okay. So we got those. The next one is, since there was 5 overall, that means we have 3 remaining. So the next ones are 7.2 at 115. So now, since there's 3 of them, we're going to go 3 for 3 air conditioning units times 7.2 times 115 equals what? 2,484. Right? So 2,484. Right? Okay. Now, we have to add those 2 together because that's all the air conditioning now. So we got to add 4,830 and 2,484 together. And what do we get? 4,830. 7,314. Right there. Right there. So it's 7,314 watts. Now, y'all know how I love VA, right? Everybody knows how I love VA, so we're going to take it immediately. We're just going to call it VA, right? So that's our answer. So right here, it would be 7,314 VA, okay? All right, makes sense? Code references. All right, well, the code references, it looks like it's going to be, where were we at in the code? I think it was 220.82c. 20.82. Let's see here. Still can't see, folks. So there we go. All right, Eric. What kind of calculator do I have? Dude, it's just a Casio. In here, it's just a solar one. I always recommend to people going to take an exam, but it's been years since I've done that, to have a solar and a battery, 2 type of power sources, just in case. But, you know, you're rolling the dice. The battery one's going to be fine. This happens to be a solar one, but any light, you know, obviously any light does it. So it's just a Casio. I've actually had this one for 30 years. Same one, still runs, still works, or maybe 20 years, something like that. A long time, long time. All right. All right, Eric, hopefully that helped you out and everybody out there how to work that unit. Hopefully that helped you out a little bit. All right. Now let's see if we can get back to, our question here. And let's see, we'll do a little smaller because otherwise we can't see them all on the screen. Purnell, thank you for joining me, my friend. And if any of these questions are hard to see, in Cali, you can't take anything in there but yourself. That's fine, but if you got to do a calculation, they either got to give you a calculator. There's no way they're going to expect you to do all that math. There's no way they're going to expect you to know all that code book either. Okay, so either they're going to give you one or you're not going to have any need for a calculator. Anyway, I would not expect them to have any real calculations to not give you a calculator to do it. Now, a lot of times the test center thing has a built-in calculator as well, that type of thing. Some of them do, okay? Just don't fear anybody and think that tests are too hard for people. They're not. They're not. You're not going to get a test somewhere where they are going to give you a really, really hard one and don't expect you to know everything in this book, or give you a real intricate calculation and expect you to do long arithmetic and things like that. It's just not really going to happen. Okay, so I just don't want people to freak out. All right. Okay, let's see here. Let's go on and get into this unit here so we can get y'all out of here and get you some education. All right, let me real quick and make sure I get my code book right. And I'm not sure if that's what you meant, Oscar. If you got any additional information on what they do at the test center, I'd love it. Okay. All right, let's get this started first. All right. So number one, let's answer each one of these questions as we do this calculation. Now, first of all, in this part of Unit 11, it is question 11 through 18 is what we're going to be focusing on tonight. It's a 12240 volt system. It's a 3-wire, single phase, and this is a key here. There are 8 units. So everything we're going to do, for the most part, is going to be, for the units, for the general lighting, general use, and small appliance, and it's just going to be multiplying it by 8. Okay, we're going to be doing the service for this multifamily dwelling. Okay, all right. So let's and we also have a form for this. And for those out there, I think we did update Unit 11 form. It was a little wonky to some people, but I think that's been corrected. Nobody's said anything otherwise. So let me know if you do know, but I think it's been corrected and should be the right one now. All right, so let's do this one. All right, let's answer this question first. What is the service demand load for the dryers? Okay, so wants to know what the service demand load is for these dryers. Okay, so how are we going to calculate that? All right, remember what we're using here, folks. We're using the standard method. And so the standard method means we're going to be in where? Chapter 3. Okay, so there you go. Seraphim. I always don't know how to say that. He's on the ball, already worked it out. So, but let's see how we do it. So let's look at what we've got. So we're doing clothes dryers, and this question just wants to know what the service demand load is for the clothes dryer. So in this case, a clothes dryer is 5 kW, right? Right? So in this case, if we were to go to 220.54, what is that going to tell us? 220.54 is going to tell us that it has to be 5 kW or the nameplate, whichever is larger. Well, in our case, its electric dryer is already 5 kW, so we're good to go. All right. Now, here's the thing though. Because it is 8 of them, we get to apply, and this is a residence, these are dwelling units, we get to apply some demands here, don't we? So where do we do it? Okay? Where do we go and make this this calculation for these dryers. Okay. All right. I think you know. I think somebody posted it already. Let's go to the code. All right. So here we are. We're still in 220. Let's go to electric ranges. Remember, this is a standard method. It says it right there on it. And we have 8 units. Okay. So this is 220.54. Y'all are familiar with that. Okay. Notice it is plural, so it is applying to multiple household clothes dryers. And if you had up to 4, they'd just be the 100. They'd be whatever the nameplate. But in our case, we've got 8. So we're right here under 8. And the multiplier for that demand factor is 60%. Right? Now, remember conversion. If you want to do this as a decimal, it makes it easier for you. Start from the right, move 2 spaces to the left. .60 is what you would use in your old school. That's what you want to do, all right? But it's based on when you have your totals. So how do we do this? Okay, got your calculator. How many? It's 5,000, okay? And this question is 5,000, and how many units do we have? We have 8, so 5,000. Or if you want to keep it in KW, just put 5. It's up to you. 5,000 times 8 is what? So 5,000, 5 times 8 equals 40. So it's a Demby. Thank you. Appreciate you liking the stream. So that's 40, right? Let's see here. Let's get code book back up. All right, there. So we have void. Now, when I get this number, I get to multiply that by what? What's the multiplier? 60%. Okay. So I like to do 5,000 times 8 is 40,000 times 0.60. And that's where you get the 24,000. Okay. And again, for those watching, Schwartzy, there you are. I knew you were out there somewhere. I was feeling a little lonely because I didn't know where you were out there earlier. It's like he's not with us anymore. He's pulling a Grunberg on me. All right, just teasing Grunberg. Don't get your feelings hurt. All right, so if we look at that, people are going to ask me again, Paul, where did you get the 60% again? Where'd you get it? Right there in the table, as you can see right there. Okay, where's my mouse? My mouse. Y'all see me looking over here. My mouse sometimes, and it's a corded mouse, gaming mouse. I don't know why it disappears every now and then. All right, there. So that was 8 units. That was our question. And this is where our multiplier was. And we get to apply it here. Now here's where it says 5,000 watts or VA or the nameplate rating, whichever is larger. Well, in our question, as y'all remember in the lesson, our example up here at the top was the clothes drives were 5 kW. Oh, by the way, this format that you see right here is becoming more and more common for exams all over the country because this allows them to ask a bunch of questions based on some given information. So again, don't be surprised if you encounter something like this in Texas or something like that as they, now by the way, Texas, September 1st is testing on the 2023 edition of the National Electrical Code, in case you didn't know it. And I would imagine other states are going to be rapidly coming on as well, okay? All right, so we're going to put the answer down here, 24,000, okay, VA. And I'm going to give the reference to 20, somebody will tell me, 220.54. And that's our reference, okay? All right, everybody feel good about that one? Sneed World, Austin, Texas, right down the road, okay, about 3 hours down the road, okay? And, yep, 2023 code in Texas now, baby. All right, of course, we know those jurisdictions can be a little bit laggy if they want, but somebody gets in trouble, state's going to step in and say, hey, I don't care what your jurisdiction's on. We're the state. We're on the 2023. Jerry Daniels and Larry Reichert, they're not going to play with you. Those are our enforcement guys here in Texas, and they don't play, okay? New York, still on that 2017, yep. Hey, I've got some states that are still on 2014. I'm just saying. And there's some random ones out there that are still on 2008, believe it or not. Really? What kind of world are they at? All right. Anyway. All right. So the next one, we're looking at the cooking appliances. All right. So what is the service demand load for the cooking appliances? Okay. Now, first of all, let's look and see what our cooking appliances. Range, okay, right there. And our range is 8 3/4. Okay, 8 3/4. Right. And we have got, there's 8 units. Right. Okay. All right. So we're going to go into the code book real quick. Oh, let me get my code book open. And we will get into that one. And let's see here. This will be a good one because here we go. All right, so I don't know how much. Gotta get there for y'all to see it. All right, so I don't know how much of this y'all actually can see. We'll move it back and forth where we need to. But here's where we're at. And we're going to be using, and we said we had 8 units, and they're 8 3/4. Now, there's 2 things we have to do here when we're doing this. First things first, if it is 8 3/4, then I'll remind you that column B is in play, right here. So 3.5 through 8 3/4. So column B is in play, right? And where is this thing? Why is this thing letting me scroll? Give me a heartburn. All right, and column C is in play because it's not over 12 kW. Right? Now see here, it says up here in the charging statement of this table, it says column C to be used in all cases. All cases you're going to use C except as otherwise permitted in note 3. Now, note 3 is going to tell you that you can use column B or column A if the cooking falls, okay, but above 1 3/4, above 1 3/4, all the way up to 8 3/4, then I can use column A or column B. Okay, now, and I don't know who that was that just gave me a like. I missed it. Thank you very much for the like. All right, appreciate you. Sorry, I was focusing. Missed you there, but I do appreciate you. All right, so the first thing is, since we can use column B, we're going to compare the two. Now, what's unique about cooking here is usually when we compare something, what are we doing? We're taking the larger, right? And in this case, we get to take the smaller. So remember that. It's unique for cooking is we get to take the smaller. So in this case, let's see here. So we're in column B, and we have 8 units. It's right here. So I'm just going to do this so I know which one it is when I move over there. All right, our multiplier is 36. Now remember, this is a percentage. This is not a demand. This is a percentage. I'm going to write this down so that I know what I got. All right. Now, while we're already here, and we know this is the 8 units, we're going to go on and move to the right one more, and we're going to see what it is for column C to compare it against. And that is 23. So I'm going to write 23, and that is actually the demand value. Okay, so it's 23 kW, or as I like it, 23,000 as Ted is shown. I like it as VA, so I like to go on and get it into the VA. But I'll also remind you that Sarah Firms is also correct at 23 kW. So that's right now, that's looking good, right? That's column C. So now we got to finish the math on column B. Okay. All right. Well, it's pretty easy to finish this math, folks, in order to apply this 36%. What you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, all right, get your calculator. Hold on, Mr. Jesse. I got your calculator. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to say, let's see, B is 8. There's 8 units times 8.75 because it's 8 3/4. Okay, so 8.75. And let's see, is that what right? Yep. And then we're going to just multiply that by our multiplier, 36%. And what is that going to give us? Oops, hold on here. I screwed that thing. I screwed my calculator up. I did. I screwed my calculator up for this. Oh, hold on here. Where was I at? I'm sorry. Where's my number here? I'm looking at the computer. It is, okay, 8 times 8.75 times 0.36 equals 25.2. Right there, right there. Can you see it? Right there. Right there. 25.2. All right. Well, 25.2 is greater than 23. So, as everybody stated, thank you, Swartzy. I should have just looked right there. So, the winner here is where? Column C. All right. A lot of people think that, 36%, that column B is always going to win. Absolutely not. That's why you have to compare. All right. So, let's go back to the lesson. So, our value is going to be right here. It's going to be 23,000 VA. Okay. And we got this from table 220.55. Oops. Wow. Right there. Okay. Makes sense? Okay. All right. Move on. Let's do 13. Now, this one should be fairly easy for us. We've kind of dabbled in this a minute ago. We're still doing the standard method, so we have to compare. And this is the 2020 edition, so we'll be looking at it that way. So, all right. Next one says, of the heat or air conditioning associated motors, which is omitted. So which one are you going to admit? You're going to admit the lesser one. So we need to, first of all, and we're going to have to do a load calculation at the end anyway, right? Because we got to size the service and everything. So might as well do this. We need to calculate out the heating, and we need to calculate out the air conditioning, and find out which one we're going to admit, whether it's the AC, because it's the lesser, we're going to omit it, or it's going to be, or do we omit the heat? We have to work it out. All right, so let's look at what we've got first. And we'll go to the code and kind of get some values if we need it here. So let's see here. So I think that the first thing that we need to do is let's go on and get the heat out of the way, right? It's the easiest thing to do because it's electric heat. And it's already telling us it's 4.5 kW, right? So we don't have to do anything. So let's just do heat. And I'll say 4.2 kW. That's our heat. Okay, so 4,200 watts. Now, the air handler, based on the way this is presented, this air handler is going to blow around this heat. So that means it is going to be included with the heat. But to do this, we need to find out what the VA is on this. And so you all know how we do this, right? We use the motor, and now we're going to go to 430.248. And this is a motor is 115 volts. So, and obviously we established that we're single phase. So we need to go there and find out what the FLC is for this motor. Okay. So I'll go to the code book. Some of you might already are starting to do that. You can help me out. Double check me. Always put it on the screen, work it out in your code book. I love to see when you guys work these things out. All right, so I'm going to go down to the tables. I saw something out of the corner of my eye blink up there, so somebody might be working these things out. All right. So let's see here. So let's go down to, all right, so we're here. Here's the single phase one right here. Right here. And it was, the first one was, what was it? It was a 1/4. So that's right here. And that is 5.8. So write that down so you know it. So 5.8, that is the 1/4. Okay. Now we're already back here, and I know you folks, if you look on the screen, guys, these guys are already, starting to throw these things out there. That's awesome. That tells me they're in their book. They're working it. All right. And you need to work it too. So the next one, since we're already here and we know we've got one other one down here, is this one's 1/6 horsepower right here. Well, you can't see it. I'm going to go back and forth, folks. This one right here, okay, you got to find this one too. If you can't see it on the screen, this is a 1/6 horsepower, okay? All right, so just so you can kind of know what we're looking at. So now we're back over in here, same area, okay? The only difference now, it is 1/6 horsepower, so that is 4.4. So I'm going to write that down. Is 1/6 is 4.4 amps. All right, and remember, these are the amps. FLC, not the same as FLA that would be on your nameplate. No, we're back here in 430, 248, 249, 250. we're looking for the FLC, full load current, okay? And that table is designed for consistency. If somebody were to change a motor and they sized it based on these tables, then even if the motors get a little more efficient or things change a little bit, then this is going to be a safe area to be, okay? So that's why we use the FLC for those type of things. All right, so that's where we got. So we've got everything that we need to work these things out, and people have already started working these out. All right, so now let's go on and get back to the lesson real quick, and we'll work out what we got. All right, so let's do this one first. So this was the quarter, and that was 5.8. So we all know, how do you get the VA? It's pretty simple at that point. You take the amps, you multiply it by the voltage. And you want to use the values they give you in your question on your exam always, guys. So in this case, it is a 5.8 times 115 equals 667. And various folks have shared that up there. So write that down. So that's 667 VA. And let's knock these out while we're here, guys. We got to do it anyway. So the next one was this one, which is the 1.6 horsepower. Let's go ahead and knock out and get that VA. That was 4.4, right? So go 4.4 times 115, and that is 506. And folks have given it to us on the screen if you can see it, depending on what platform you're on. There you have it. Okay, so we got those numbers. So the only other one that we're going to need to be able to finish this up is this air conditioning compressor. Now, in this case, we lucked out. They didn't give us a horsepower, but you and me both know, all of you know, we would already been back there. We'd have got it. So it ain't like they ain't helping us in. It ain't no sweat off our back. We would have figured it out anyway. But since we have the 14 amps, then we can just simply go 14 times 230, and that is 3,220. So I'm going to write that down, is the AC, and that is going to be 3,220 VA. Okay. All right. So we've got all of our values now. So now we're going to compare it to the heat. So the heat was 4,200 VA, or 4.2 kW, plus we're going to add 667 to that because that blower also would blow that heat around. Okay. So that would be 4,200 plus 667. So that would be 4,867. Okay, so I'm going to write that for the heat. Now remember though, we've got 8 units. Right now I'm just comparing the two on the one unit concept here. Just comparing the two real quick and see what we got going on here. All right, and then we'll talk about this a little bit deeper. But let's just compare right now. All right. So the heat's 4,867 for this one unit. We're doing the floor unit first. Okay. The first floor unit. Bear with me. We're not doing this times 8 yet. Relax. All right. So the next one is the AC. So the AC was, let's go on and take that 3,220, which was what we did, plus we're going to add that 667 for the blower motor because you got to blow that cool air around, right? So plus 667. And then plus we're going to add that condensing fan that we did was 506. So we're going to do that plus 506, all right? So the AC total, now stick with me now because I'm going to have to talk to you a couple ways because I want to help you 2017 folks out as well while I'm doing this. So bear with me. So the AC is 4,393. Okay. Now, in this case, the heat would beat the AC, correct? Everybody give me a thumbs up. Everybody agree and understand that? So if you're in the 2017 edition of the National Electrical Code, right? If that's the edition you're in, then guess what? You can stop right there and take the larger one, which was the heat, right? And you can simply multiply that by 8 units. You with me? All right, let me see if I can go back over the code. All right, so that type of scenario. So what would it be? So let's take that 4,867, multiply that by 8. That's 38. Is that what my number is? So 38,936 for the heat. Okay? You with me? All you did was take the heat and do it times 8. And that would be 38,936. And that's what you're going to use, right? Because in the 2017 code, folks, you don't have to take the AC if it's the lesser at 125%. So this is just for you 2017 folks. Listen, you're done. You took the heat. That's the value that you're going to add to your calculation. Okay? Simple, right? God, I wish it stayed that way. Now let's jump to for you 2017 folks. Now it's time for you to grab a beer, chill out, grab a cool one. Now I'm talking to you 2020 and 2023 folks. You ready? All right. Now, same numbers. However, when we compared the two, the question is this the largest motor in this dwelling? That AC unit at 3,220 is indeed the largest motor in this dwelling. So what do I got to do? The way it says it in the National Electrical Code, right, is that, okay, look, I need to compare heat versus AC, right? And we're talking about 220.60, okay? And we'll go look at it. Don't worry, I'll go look at the code book. But there is something unique about it for the 2020 code. And I want to show you. Oh, hold on here. Let's see here. So let's go back to where we were. And I'll show you. Don't worry. It's right there if I can see. Okay, non-coincident loads right here. All right, now see this part in yellow? This is new for you 2020 folks, okay? So, first of all, what's a non-coincident load? It's a load two loads that are not going to be on simultaneously. Now, the reason that we did that blower motor and we had to add that to both, because since that blower motor would be on whether the heat was going or the AC, that is not a non-coincident load, okay? So it's got to be considered for both because both of them, it's going to be running. So that's why we did it that way. That's why we added it to the heat because it's definitely not something, it could be running no matter which one's going. That makes sense? Okay, so it's totally not a non-coincident load. It can't be. Okay. All right, so now, what does it say this last part? Remember, this is just for you 2020 folks. You New York folks, rewire, y'all can chill for a second. All right, so here you go. It says, where the motor is part of the non-coincident load and is not the largest of the non-coincident loads, in our case it was not, the AC was less, okay? It says, do it at 125% of the motor load shall be used in calculating if it is the largest motor. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to redo the AC value again, but instead of that 3220 for that air conditioning unit, we're going to multiply that by 125%, and then the sum of the air handler and the condensing motor, and then compare that to the heat and see which one wins now. Okay, remember, we're still on that first floor though. All right, so let's do this. So I'm going to take 3220, which was that AC unit, which is the largest motor, times 1.25. That's 4,025 now. Plus, I'm going to add that 667 back to it for the blower motor. Plus, I'm going to add the 506 to it for the condensing fan motor. That gives me 5,198. Okay. Now, which is larger? The AC now is larger than the heat. Now, here's where people get confused. When you do the largest motor, it doesn't matter whether it's an 8-story building, 10-story building, or whatnot. You only take one of the motors to get that additional 25%. And we just did that. We got that additional 25% because we took the AC as the largest motor. We don't have to do it to the other 7 on the other floors. This is where people get confused. So that's why I told you we're doing the first floor first. Okay, so on the first floor, boy, if y'all get this, y'all got this. On the first floor, the AC wins, and that is 5,198. But when you get to the second floor through the 8th floor, Now you don't do the largest motor at 125%. You only did that once. Now on the second floor through the 8th floor, which is the larger load, heat or AC? What do you think? What do you think, Swartzy? From second floor to the 8th floor, now what's the largest load on those floors when you're comparing the non-coincident loads? It's the heat. So the heat, if you remember, was 4,867. So we're going to do 4,867 times 7, because there were 7 floors where the heat was going to win. So I'm going to go 4,867 times 7. That is 34,069. Plus I'm going to add the AC from the first floor to that. Plus 5,198. That gives me a total of 39,267. Okay, for that application. All right, so to answer the question though, and we'll kind of, that's the overall for the building, and that's why I'm giving you that, because you want to make sure you write that down, because that is actually the overall. Okay, so that's the overall contribution for the heat versus AC. But to answer this question, which should get omitted? All right, which is omitted? Okay, on the first floor, what's omitted? Heat. Second through 8th is AC. Okay, so that's it. First floor, the heat. Second through the 8th is AC. That's what's omitted. So that's how you answer that question. And it's 220.60. And that is the hardest question in that, by the way. Okay? The hardest question in there, by the way. Now, since we were doing that, we don't have to go look for the largest motor, because the AC took care of that, and we did it at 125%. So 220.50, which is take the largest motor at 125%, well, that's already taken care of, because we took all motors at 100, but that AC, we added an additional 25%, so we've got 220.50 covered. We ain't got to do nothing for that one, okay? All right, make sure you got your numbers. Again, I get all my numbers here, okay? So let's go to the next one. All right, we've kind of pretty much added everything up, except we haven't done any appliances yet. So we'll look at that one, but we have to do that in our overall calc. We got to do that anyway. All right, so let's go on to number 14 right here. And so since we're going to have to do all this calculation anyway, let's go on. It's not one of the questions, but let's go on and see what our load is for this, since we're already here. That's why this question is complicated for folks, because you have to assume certain things, all right? So let's go on and do something else real quick. Let's go on and get our appliances and knock that value out, because we need that value. Let's go on and knock that out. And we haven't done general lighting and small appliance and all that stuff either. We're going to tie it all together. Don't worry. Right now, we're just answering some of these questions. But now at this point, I'm at a turning point here. I'm at a point where I can't really go forward. I now have to go solve some of the other stuff that's just hanging out there. Okay, y'all ready? All right, so let's go on and knock the appliances out while we're here. So what we've got here is we got a water heater, we got a dishwasher. That's it. Pretty weak. We don't have a whole lot of anything other than that. So that's all we've got. Now, but we do have to remember how many units we have. We still have 8 units. Remember that. All right, so let's see. What's this water heater? Let's write this down, 4,000. Okay. And if it's lost, if anybody's lost, please let me know. This is, believe it or not, people can take this stuff for granted. This is complicated stuff. It's code calculations using the NEC, and it's not easy. Don't let anybody in the field. If anybody ever tells you on a job site, oh, that crap's easy, you know what you do? You print this off and you give it to them and you say, okay, I'll wait. Here, on your lunch break, do this calc for me. Then you'll see them shut up real quick, okay? Don't let anybody tell you this is easy stuff, because it's not, all right? There's so many little pieces you could miss, right? So if you look at it, now let's go on and do the appliances. So the water heater was 4 and the dishwasher was 1. So that's 1,000. Now, how many appliances do we have, guys? And gals. I haven't had any gals lately, but how many appliances do we have? Well, we have 8 water heaters in the building, and we have 8 dishwashers in the building. Then we've got what? 16 appliances in this building. 16. Okay? So what do we get to do with this thing? So there you go, Schwartzy. 16 units, appliances in here. All right, so let's get our totals for the water heater. So let's do 4,000 times 8. And that is 32,000. Okay? If I lose anybody, please let me know. All we're doing is adding them up now. And then we have 8 dishwashers at 1,000 watts. So we're going to 8 times 1,000, and that's 8,000. So we have 32,000 in water heaters, and we have 8,000 in dishwashers. Now, okay? Failing Unit 8. Hey, a lot of people, hey, Eric, Unit 8, 11, and 13 are by far the most challenging units. Everybody starts cruising along good, answering code questions, getting good scores, and everybody feels good until they get to Unit 8, 11, and 13. And then it's like, the brakes come on, okay? All right. So now, what in the code allows us to take in standard method, what section allows us to apply some demands here for these appliances? You guessed it, 220.53. So let's go to the code. And let's go to 220.53. I'll take you there. Right here. Okay? Right here. And it allows me, it says, it shall be permissible to apply a demand factor of 75% to the nameplate rating. And that's exactly what we pulled here. A nameplate rating of 4 or more appliances rated a quarter horsepower or greater or 500 watts or greater. All of ours are going to apply there. Okay? That are fastened in place. Water heaters fastened in place. Dishwashers fastened in place. Okay? All right. So we get to apply 75% to that. So we're going to add that 32,000 plus that 8,000. That gives me 40,000. Y'all see it right there. I'm going to multiply that by 0.75 because you know I like to move things to decimals. And that gives me 30,000. Okay? So if you're out there, oops, hold on, let me get this up. If you're out there in the field and somebody asks you how to calculate that and your guy at the water cooler doesn't understand how to do the appliance application, maybe you ask them that one question and they blow it, right? Well, the 30,000 VA is what we utilize for the appliances, okay? So make sure you jot that down. 30,000 VA for the appliance, okay? Next, let's go on and knock out the floor area, and of course, the question that always people ask when you're doing a service calculation, do you have to assume 2 small appliance brand circuits? Yes, at least 2. Do you have to assume a laundry circuit? Yes. There's no reason for them to give you the floor area in an exam question unless and ask you for a service calculation unless you don't do that. Now, they might ask you a question that just wants to know the service contribution of the dryers or the ranges. Oh, then you wouldn't need to do all that. You just do the dryers and just do the ranges. What is their contribution? But when you get a full-fledged question like we have, and it gives you square footage, then you're going to have to work this thing out, okay? All the way out, okay? So we're going to work this thing out all the way, okay? So let's see here. What we got to do is, okay, so what is our first thing? Let's go to the code and see where we get our values that we're going to work this question. All right, so we're going to do square footage. So we're in the NEC, and let's go on and go down to, okay, right here, J. Now, if you're in the 2017 code, you're going to see it in 220.12, and for the dwelling, it's still 3 VA per square foot. So no reason to get, kind of confused in any way. You know that dwelling calculations are 3 VA per square foot, so we've established that. Interesting enough, when you do the optional method, it's still 3 VA per square foot when you're doing that part of it. So again, none of that changes. And you still got to count for your small appliance. You still have to count for your laundry. So, no biggie there. All right, so let's kind of work this out here. So what we're going to be using is right here, 3 VA per square foot. We know that our VA is our square footage is 1,200 square feet, and we're going to multiply that by 3 VA. So it's 3 VA per square foot. Okay, so let's do 1,200 times 3 is what? 3,600 VA. So write that down. 3,600 VA. That's your general lighting and small appliance. Now we haven't applied any demands yet. That's just our front value. Okay, that's just our face value. All right. The next thing that we want to make sure that we cover is what is the value, and we're in part 3, what is the value that we're going to get for our small appliances? Right here, 220.52. Okay, small appliance, okay, 1,500 VA, and here at 210.11C1 reminds us you have to have a minimum of 2. And so here's where we get our VA. It's 1,500. So obviously 1,500 times 2, it's 3,000. So write down 3,000 VA for your small appliance. Easy peasy, right? Well, we're already here. We know we have to have a laundry because 210.11C2 says you have to have at least a laundry circuit, okay? Unless any of the exceptions apply, right? Well, in this case, no exceptions apply. So we're going to get this value. So, and then we'll show you how we do this for 8 units. Right now, we're just trying to get numbers. All right, so here's the laundry. And it is also 1,500. So we write that down, 1,500. All right, now we need to get the bigger numbers to play with, because what we're going to do now is we're going to be able to apply some demands, and we're going to be able to utilize right here, 220.42, okay? We're going to be able to utilize these demand factors right here. And that's going to be the first 3,000 at 100%. The next 3,001 through 120 is going to be at 35%. And anything over that, over 120 is going to be at 25%. So we're going to be able to apply these demand factors. But now we got to get the overall value, because remember how many units we had? We have 8 units. So we're going to I'm going to go back to the question so y'all can see it while we work these out. So let's go back to the lesson. Okay, here we go. So let's start. You can see the numbers on the screen. So we're going to do 3 VA per square foot times 1,200 times 8 units. That's 28,800 VA. That's the general lighting and general use VA for all 8 of those units. So write 28,800 down. Okay, so we did the other stuff so you can kind of see how we do the VAs, but now we're doing it in bulk. Okay, so we're going to work this thing. All right, so the next thing is we have small appliance brand circuits, 2 for each unit. There's 8 units. So make it easy on yourself. Do 1,500 VA, okay, times 2, because there's 2 in each one, that's 1,500, times 8 units. That is 24,000 VA. So write that down, 24,000 VA. Remind me, if you're lost anywhere, just say, Paul, where did you get that? Slow down. I'm more than happy to do that. Okay. Now, the last one, remember, we're just doing the same numbers we did a minute ago just to test ourselves, but now we're doing it in bulk because we know we got 8 units. All right, so laundry, there's 8 units. There's 1 laundry in each unit. So it's 1,500 VA each. So it's 1,500 VA times 8, right? 1,500 VA, no, there's 1. 1,500 times 1 times 8. And that is 12,000. See that? Right? There you go. So we have 12,000 VA. Okay. Now we have all of our numbers. So we need to total it all up. Okay, so this is our small appliance brand circuits in the entire 8-story building. This is our laundry for the entire 8-story building. And this is our general lighting and general use for the 8-story building. Okay, so let's do this. So it's going to be 28,800 plus 24,000 plus 12,000. That is 64,800. Okay, is that what y'all got? All right, so remember, that's covering your general lighting, general use, your small appliances, and your laundry in all these 8 units. Okay, now we get to apply some demand factors. That's when we're going to go to 220.42. And hopefully you went there and you saw that the first 3,000 is 100%. What that means is 3,000 is going to be at least that anyway. So you take the 3,000 away and you have what's remaining, and we're going to apply our percentages to that. So take that 64,800, take 3,000 away. That gives me 61,800 that I'm going to be applying something to. But you're going to get that 3,000 back, but sit it to the side. So I'm just going to set that aside. All right, so that's 61,800. I'm going to multiply that by 35%, right? Because it wasn't over, right? It wasn't over the next 117,000, or the total didn't go over 120,000, right? We like to say the first 3,000 is 100% and the next 117,000 at 35%. That makes it easier for people to that mental picture. Why? Because 117 and 3 is 120. It's just an easier way to remember it, okay? All right, so 61,800, multiply that by 0.35. That is 21,630. Write that down. Add that 3,000 back to it. The original one, we took it 100%. So we're going to add 3,000 back. That is 24,630. So write that down. 24,630. Folks, that's the first part. Done, right? Okay. So the next part was logically, we're going to move on to the appliances. Well, guess what we did? We did that a few minutes ago. That's why I told you to do it. Remember, it was 40,000, and then we applied what? Let's see, what was it? Yeah, 40,000, and we applied 75% to that. That gave us 30,000. Well, that's the next one that we add to that 24,630. We're adding 30,000. That's our appliances. So write that down. Next, we're going to be adding, the next thing we would add would be the clothes dryer. Well, good news, folks. We already did the clothes dryers. If you look, you see that was item number 11. We already did that, so we're going to add that 24,000 to it. I'm going to write that down. 24,000, that's the clothes dryers. We already did it. Next would be the cooking. Guess what? We already did that too, right? That was number 12, and that was 23,000 for the building. So I'm writing that down, 23,000. I'll remind you, if you've got our forms, it makes it much easier. I do it here without the forms because I know that there's a lot of people out there watching that don't have our forms, so I want to walk through it. But you guys that are in our program, most certainly print these things off and use these forms to help you that kind of get used to the flow of how things go, okay? Okay, so the next thing we're going to hit is, let's see, we covered everything. We're going to do the AC versus heat, right? And to be honest with you, we've already done that too, didn't we? Didn't we do AC versus heat earlier? Well, let's see where I wrote this, if I wrote that down. Let's see here. AC versus heat. Did I write it down somewhere, folks? If I didn't, I got to go back and look it up again. Let's see here. Help me out, Michael. Did I not do it? AC versus heat? Well, we did it. So the first floor was 51. Let's see here. Heat was 4867 times 7, if y'all remember. That was 34,069 plus 5,198 for the first floor. That was 39,267. Okay? I think somebody... So that's what our total was when we did the heat and AC. Remember, the first floor was the what? AC. The second through the eighth was the heat. So we took the value from the first floor, and we took the values from second through the eighth floor, added them together, and that's how we got 39,267. Remember? Okay. I thought I wrote that down somewhere. Yeah, I did. I wrote it in right here. Well, I don't know why. I put AC next to it and I didn't AC and heat. Yes. So there we go. So we're going to add that to our list. So that's 39,267. That's our AC and heat. Okay. We're good to go. Now, next thing is we don't have to do the largest motor, do we? Do we? Nope. Because we already captured that when we chose the AC on the first floor, the air conditioning unit at 125%. So we're done. We don't have to go look for additional 25% that's covered in 220.50. It's already done. We did it. All right. So that's our total. Now, what we want to do at this point is we need to add up all these numbers. Okay. So I'm going to add all these numbers up. So 24,630 plus 30,000 for the appliances, plus 24,000 for the clothes dryers, plus 23,000 for the cooking, okay, plus 39,267 for the AC and heat. That gives me 140,897. Is that what you get? Somebody tell me if that's what they get. So I feel comfortable in my math here for you. Let me double check my math again. You know how I like to double check math. 24,630, 30,000 for the appliances, 24,000 for the dryers, 23,000 for the cooking, plus 39,267. Yep, that's 140,897. Okay, is that what we got? All right. Now, all we're going to do at this point is divide it by what? 240. So I'm going to divide this by 240. And that is 587.07. So basically, it's just 587 amps. That is what we've got. That's our value. Okay. So the question here that ends up being asked is right here. Let's see here. Let me give it to you where I got the item number right here. So what is the minimum rating in amperes for the service? Okay. All right. So the minimum rating for the service, and rating being the overcurrent device, since it's 587, it's 600 amps. How do we get there? No. So no, Adam, no. That's why, remember, I told you earlier, I don't have the time to do both. Remember earlier when I told you the AC versus heat, the number will be slightly less because you're simply going to take, well, it might be more because you're going to take the heat for all floors. Whereas remember what we did? We took the heat versus AC and the AC won out. Okay. So actually it'll be less because you're only going to use, what is that? 4,867 for each floor. So again, the only thing that's going to be different for you in the 2017 is the heat versus AC value. That's the only value that's going to be different. Okay. Yeah, you got it. That's the only difference. I'm working in the 2020. Okay. Where was I at? So it's 600 is the rating. Now, does anybody know where we go to see if there's a 587 amp rated overcurrent device? Let's see if anybody knows here. Where do I go to find overcurrent devices? Okay. And I can do this, and Michael will tell me what's the point when I just type it in, right? All right. There you go. And look, that's important. Look. There you go. 240 is too broad. I'm in the 2023, but until Jesse, when we do some of these, and since the 2023 is no different than the 2020, I've only got about 70 people that are in the 2023. I got thousands that are in the 2020. So, that's why I'm probably going to stick with using the 2020 when it comes to these lessons, because the 2023 is the same as the 2020, and it covers both of them. And more people have the 2020 than the 2023. Now, videos that I'm starting to put out that's going to be on Fast Trax Tube, they're always going to be pushing forward in the 2023. Okay, but for these lessons, I need to pick the one that I have the most students in, that type of thing. Otherwise, I end up being redundant on stuff. And we have far more students in the 2020 program than the 2023 because it's just brand new, that type of thing. All right, where was I at? I'm sorry. All right, so now that's that. Now, next question, 15. It says a parallel run, which means it's forcing you to do 2 sets, okay? 2 parallel sets, okay? Man, I appreciate that, Eric. Thank you very much again for that donation. I very much appreciate it. All right, so 2 parallel runs, 2 sets. And it reminds us that 2 separate raceways. What is the minimum size? There you go, Eric, on the screen. Thank you, Super Chat. Appreciate you. Only available over on, I guess that's only available on YouTube, but I appreciate you. Okay, so what is the minimum size THWN? Significant, folks, because it's not -2, it's just THWN. So it forces you, so you're going to be in the 75 regardless. But since there's no adjustment or corrections here, so it really doesn't matter that much to us. Copper, ungrounded conductor, okay? But it has to be 2, okay? So in our situation, what was our load? Our load, when we did the calculation, even though we did a 600 amp overcurrent device, remember it was 587 amps. So we want to take that 587 amps, I want to divide that by 2. That means I have to have conductors that are at least good for 293.5 amps, okay, for that scenario, for those HOTS. So I'm going to go over to the code book, and I'm going to be looking here at the code. And I need to go to, where are we going to go? 310.16. I'm going to go to 310.16. And we're right here. And let's see here. Let's go down to the table. Okay, so here's the table, 310.16. And y'all can see the 75 column right here. So that's all good. All right. And we need what? 293.5. Okay, so here's the 75 right here. I'll just do this so y'all know where we're at. I'll just do this. I'll just keep it highlighted so we know where we're at. So I need 293. All right. Well, I can't use 285. Okay. So it looks like I'm going to have to go down to 310 amps. And so it's 350. So I need 2 sets of 350. Okay. Or as we say around town, 350. All right. So let's go back here. So it would be, let's see here, 2 350 KC mil. Okay, copper. Pretty easy peasy. So where do we go here? Well, we'll just keep it simple. Table 310.16. Just keep it simple. Keep it straightforward. Swartzy's undersizing my wire. Swartzy's undersizing the wire. Boy, don't be cutting me out of some copper, Swartzy. What are you talking about? Sneed World. Thank you again. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. That's awful nice. Appreciate you and Eric doing the donating. I appreciate it. You know you don't have to do it, but I totally appreciate it. I already recognize that you folks put in an investment into this program. And again, I don't want anybody to ever think that I don't fully appreciate your investment in us. And that's why we try to keep adding new services and new features, new databases. We keep trying to give you more because, again, I am a good steward of your belief in our program. And we appreciate every one of you, most certainly. Got a great email today from a guy and I apologize if you're on here, and I get so many emails, but he was successful in his exam. And thanks to the course. And again, I am glad. And if it's something that I make you do over and over, like if you don't get 70 and I make you do something 2 and 3 and 4 times, trust me, doing a unit multiple times and reading it multiple times is not Paul being Paul, Jesse. It's me saying, I want you to read it again because I think it's beneficial to you. You get more out of it each time you read it, that type of thing. So that's why I do that, okay? I'm always here to ask questions, but I really want you reading it, and bring your questions here to Wednesday nights, most certainly. Okay. All right, so let's see, where was I at here? So There we go. So it's 2 sets of 350. We're good to go. All right, so the next thing we're going to be looking at is, and I said I wouldn't, but we're going to do it. We're going to go on and do it. We're going to size the neutral. But this is easy for us, folks, okay? Easy for us is because we've already got all the numbers. So for example, the small appliance, branch circuits, the laundry, all that stuff that we just did a minute ago when we applied the demand factors of 220.42, we get to keep that for the neutral because those are all 120 volt loads, right? They're all neutral loads. And guess what? The demands still apply to that too. So in our value, remember that 24,630 that was neutral, that was general use in small appliance and branch, in laundry? That's neutral load. So we get to keep that. So yes. Next, the appliances. All right. When it comes to the appliances, we only are going to take the appliances that have a neutral component. Does the water heater have a neutral? Absolutely not. The water heater was 240 volts. The dishwasher had a neutral. How many dishwashers did we have? We had 8. So guess what? We still get to apply the 75% to that. So that was 1,000 times 8. So that's 8,000. And we're going to multiply that by 0.75. And what does that give us? That gives us 6,000. Okay? So that is our neutral for the appliances. All right, hold on for a second. My mouse is dying on me again. Hold on here. Why is it? Guys, come on, mouse. Why it keeps doing that? It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. It just does it. Okay, so write 6,000 down for the appliances for the neutral. We're doing the neutral now. So we kept the same amount for the general lighting, general use, small appliance, and in laundry, because those are neutral loads anyway. They're 120, so good. We're going to take and write and have the appliances. We're going to put 6,000 down because we're only doing the dishwasher. Yay, that's it. Okay. The next thing is the clothes dryer. All right, so remember what the clothes dryer, it's still on the screen. Okay. Now we're sitting there going, okay, the clothes dryer is still on the screen. This represents 8 clothes dryers. It's 24,000. Well, where is it in the code that's going to allow us to apply a demand factor for these clothes dryers? You guessed it. 220.61. Or as Swartzy would say, I didn't give you time to guess it because he is always jumping on me for that. But I'll be good stewards of your time and we'll go over to it. And this is where we get to apply some demand factors, kid. Right? Right here. Notice that it's still under part 3. That's why we're doing it. Okay. And so we're over here and we're looking at 220.61. And we're looking at permitted reductions. And we're getting here. It says for service and feeders supplying the following loads shall be permitted to have an additional demand factor of 70% applied to the amount in 220.61B1 or portion of the amount in 220.61B2. We're not using B2. We're using B1 right here. This one. All right. And here's the clothes dryer. So our clothes dryer was what? Our clothes dryer was 24,000. So I'm taking that 24,000, multiply that by 0.70. That is 16,800. That is the 70% demand factor applied to that 24,000. Why? Because 220.61 B1 allows me to. Okay? So I'm going to write that down. So that is going to be 16,800. That's my dryer. Now ranges. Same rule. 220.61B1 allows me to apply a 70% demand to the ranges. What did we get for the ranges? It was 23,000, remember? We did that earlier. It's right there, item number 12. Okay, so we're going to take that 23,000. All right, we're going to multiply that by 0.70. That is 16,100. We're going to write that down. Okay. Okay, let's going easy. We're doing the neutral. That's all. All right, so next we're going to move on to the air conditioning versus heating. Now, remember this one. It's not really heating versus air conditioning here. It's just take any of the loads that are neutral, that are associated with heating or air conditioning. Well, obviously the heat's not, that's 240. The air conditioning compressor is not, that's 230. We don't need those. But we need that blower motor and we need that condensing fan. And remember, we already did the VA from those earlier. I believe the VA for those were 667 for the quarter horsepower and 506 for the 1/6 horsepower. Okay, all right. So we're going to add those two together and then multiply it by 8. And that's our neutral contribution, right? Because we have 8 units. So we're going to do 667 plus 506 equals 1,173 times 8. And that gives me 9,384. See that? So write that down. That's the next one. That's it. That's the AC and heat, in this case, whatever 120 volt or 115 volt loads contribution, okay, when it comes to AC and heat. So we're going to write that down, 9,384. Okay? Now, remember what we did when we did the calculation for the size of the service? Remember when we didn't need to do the 220.50 for the largest motor because that was already picked up in the air conditioning unit when we did the comparison? Well, guess what? Don't forget this. Now that we're doing the neutral, we still have to pick up the largest motor that is a motor with a neutral contribution. Not largest motor overall, like the 230 volts or the 240, but just the largest motor that has the neutral contribution, okay? That's what we're looking for now. So in this case, the largest motor is that air handler motor at 667. That is the largest physical motor, right? So, but here's the thing, folks. We only need one. That's it. Don't do that times 8. Remember? When it comes to the largest motor in the dwelling, it's just one. One. In this case, for the neutral, I got to search for the largest neutral contribution motor in the dwelling. And the largest one here is that air handler. That quarter horsepower was 667 VA. So I'm just going to take 667 times what? What are you going to do it times? 25% or 0.25. That's going to give me 166.75. All right? And we're going to make that 167. Okay? So I'm going to write that down. 167. All right? Okay. Now, or if you want to take it at, if you want to keep it at 166.75, that's fine. For your math, at the end, you're going to do your rounding once it's in amps anyway. So, but there we go. All right, so that's all of my loads. So now let's add all these up. I'm going to add the 24,630. Remember, that was from our small appliance, our laundry, and our general 3 VA per square foot. After we applied the demands, remember, if it was good for the service, it's good for the neutral, okay? Plus 6,000 for those appliances. Remember, we only used the dishwasher because the water heater is 240 volts, so we wouldn't do that, okay? Then we're going to take the clothes dryer at 16,800. Remember, that was 70% of the value on the screen. And then we're going to take the range, 16,100, which was 70% of the 23,000 as you see on the screen. So that would be 16,100 plus, we're now going to add the air conditioning loads, that blower and that condensing fan for all 8 units, right? And that was 9,384. Plus, we got to add that paltry little amount for the largest load, okay? That type of thing, right? All right, and I'll answer your question in a second, Walter. So let's answer that. So we got to add on to that 167. I went on and rounded it now instead of having to do it later. That is 73,081. See that? And then all we do is multiply that by 240. And that is 304.5 amps. So we're going to round that up to 305. Okay? So if you think about this answer now, one thing I'll remind you, Seraphin was already ahead of the game because he knew we had one more step to do. Okay? But right now, 305 VA, and that's what a lot of folks will put here, right here. They'll put 305. Okay? That's not the answer. Why? And Walter, I will get to you in a second. Why is that not the answer? Now we have to go back to 220.61, but now we're going to look at B2. Okay? So let's go back. And let me get this down. So we're back here. So now we're allowed to apply as an additional value here. It says we can apply 70%, again, another demand, to that portion of the unbalanced load, which is what we just calculated out, in excess of 200 amperes, where the feeder or service is supplied by a 3-wire DC or a single-phase AC system, and ours was AC system. Okay? So we get to apply 70% to that value that is over, okay? The value that is over 200. So the first 200 you have to take. So I'm going to write 200 down. So what's the value that's over 200? Well, that's going to be 305 minus 200. That's going to give me 105. That 105 is what you multiply by 0.70. That is 73.5. That you add to the original 200. That gives you a total of 273.5, okay, of your neutral contribution, okay? And that is the value you're going to use. Now, somebody's going to say, well, at this point, do I round that up? No. Typically with the neutral, you take the neutral contribution. That is what the neutral calculates out to be, okay? So in the real world, it's not going to matter, obviously, and you'll see why, because we just size and conductors based on this. But the real value here is, for the neutral, is 273.5 amps, okay? And here it is, again, we're going to go 220.61 B1 and B2, okay? Makes sense? There you go. So now, here's where it gets tricky for folks. Since we parallel the hot conductors, right? Let me get back to the lesson here. Since we parallel the hot conductors in two separate raceways, guess what we got to do with that neutral? Now, this is where people get confused, and they want to just size the neutral next in this next question down here. And they forget that we parallel the hots. So we have to have, remember the paralleling rules in 310.10? Depending on what cycle you're in, it's 310.10G or H, depending on what year you're in. We have to put the neutral in each raceway. But we can parallel it. Code allows us to parallel the neutral. All right, so let's do the math. So our number was 273.5 amps. So let's do 273.5. And we're going to divide that by 2. That's 136.75. Okay? Now, there's a couple things we got to do, folks, so stick with me. Okay? Again, this is complicated stuff, and this is where people get lost. So let's go to the code real quick, and we need to find a conductor that's good for 136.75. Right? So we're back over here at the code. Let's go down to 310.16. Let's see here. 310.16 right here. Whoops, it logged me out. That sucks. All right, what are they doing? What are they messing with my mojo? So we're here at 310.16. And let's see here. So here we got to find the conductor. And again, the conductor is THWN, so we're in 75. And so we're right here, this column. I need to find one that's good for 136.75. So let's go down right here. All right, well, it doesn't look like I can use a 1. But for those that say, you couldn't use a 1, but here's the deal. When you're paralleling, you can't parallel conductors less than 1/0 anyway, right? That's in 310.10. So it couldn't be less than 1/0 because I'm not allowed to parallel anything less than 1/0. So this matches, so it looks like, okay, well, even though it was over 130, this makes sense. So 1/0 is fine. Looks like that's the one that we would use. Sounds like that's not a problem at all. Okay, right? So that's what we're working with to do that. Okay, so that's our size. So let's go back to our lesson. Also remember, it can't be smaller than what's given in 250.102C1 either. And chances are, if you're going to do it on a load calculation like this, it's always going to be larger than what's in 250.102C1. But just keep that in your mind, that you also just want to verify that whatever conductor you size, it's not less than what's in 250.102C1. Okay, just keep that little in mind. Ours, it's not going to come in play because we have to be paralleled anyway. So we're going to be okay with the 1/0. So let's go back here to our lesson right here. So this is 1/0 copper. And over here, again, we'll just say table 310.16. All right, and then lastly, for today, we're going to size the grounding electrode conductor. Now, if this was ground rods, we're going to go to 250.66A, and you know it doesn't have to be larger than a 6, but notice the question. It doesn't say what type of electrode you're using. That's a little tip for you. If you're looking at an exam and they ask you to size the grounding electrode conductor, but they don't tell you what the electrode it is, then you're just going to go straight to the table 250.66 and select it accordingly. If they give you a rod, pipe, or plate, then you're going to go to 250.66A. They're not exceptions, but they're permissible applications. If it's a concrete encased electrode, you're going to go to 250.66B. And if it's a ring type of electrode, you're going to go to 250.66C. But in our question, I didn't tell you what type of electrode it is, right? So you're going to go to 250.66. So let's do that real quick. So here I'm at the code again. And let's go to 250.66. And right here. All right, so it's based on the largest ungrounded conductors, okay, or parallel area of those. So we have 2 sets, right? Those are our ungrounded hot conductors, 2 sets. And we established that it was 350, 2 sets, two sets of 350s. So 350 plus 350 is 700 kc mil. That's what it means right here when it says, or equivalent area for parallel conductors. That means the area of the 350, and you had 2 sets of them, you only have to take 1 phase, so just use A. So it's 350 in one raceway, 350 the other raceway, add them together, that's 700 kc mil. That's what you're going to use here. That's what it means, right? Absolutely, Swartzy. There you go. All right, so we come down here, and remember these values, that's 350 kc mil, that's 600 kc mil, that type of thing. So it's over 600 because ours was 700, okay, but it's not over 1100. So right here, copper, we're going here, it looks like it's a 2/0, okay? So it looks like our size is going to be what? What do you think? What does everybody think? Think it's right? Absolutely, it's right. If it had been a rod, man, you could have got away with a 6. But nope, we can't get rid of it. We got to have a 2/0. Okay? So what are we going to do? Go back to the lesson. And based on, and we'll go on and put it here, based on 250.66. And remember, we're doing the entire complex here, okay? And that's the case right here. It'd be 2/0 copper. There you go. All right. There you go. All right. Now, back to Walter. Let me get back to your question real quick. So, Walter, the question was, hold on here. Let me see if I can find your question, Walter. So your question was, where did I get the 25% for the neutral contribution? Well, remember that we did that when we sized the hot conductors. Remember when we compared AC versus heat and the AC had to be compared? If you're in the 2020 or 2023 edition, you have to compare. So we had to turn around and take that AC and then multiply it at 125%. Well, we only have to do the largest motor, okay, in the building, right, to capture that additional 25%, right? So we did it when we had the AC. Now, when we're doing the neutral, since we're not using the air compressor, right? We're not using the air compressor. And since we're only dealing with neutral loads, nothing can give us a relaxation away from 220.50. Now I'll go to 220.50 so you can see it and get a better understanding. Thank you, Alfredo. Appreciate you liking the stream. And let me get to here real quick. And let me get you so I can make sure that Walter's clear. Let's go to 220.50 right here. And so this is what we're looking at, Walter, right here. So this is inside of part 3. So you have to take it into consideration, right? So it says motor loads shall be calculated in accordance with 430.24. Now, 430.24 is the rule that says you take the largest motor at 125%, but then you take the sum of all the other motors that are in the same group. Well, all of these motors are in the same group because they're 240 volt or 230 volt motors, so they're obviously all connected to the same service, same group of conductors. So that's what you do for motors, and this is telling you to go there and do it. So because we're talking about motors, and since it makes this reference, in this entire 8-story building, we only have to take the largest motor at 125%, and then we take the sum, which is the pure 100% of the value of all the other motors, right? So that's what we did when we did the sizing of the regular conductors. We did that. The only difference is we got that extra 25% and added it to the actual air conditioning motor because we didn't take any of the motors at 125. So we got to take at least one motor at 125. So we were able to do that with the AC. Now, when it came to the neutral, you still can't get away from these rules in 220.50. But since it's neutrals, we have to search the largest motor. And we have to take that motor. And since we already took the motor itself at 100%, which we did in the calculation anyway, remember, we did the appliances. We did all those stuff. We already took everything into consideration. Remember, we did the air conditioner and the air conditioner in the condensing fan. That's how we came up with that value for the neutral. That means we already took it at 100. All I need to do is take one of those motors and get that little 25%, okay? Hopefully that makes sense, but that's what we're doing. Don't forget that. Now, on an exam, that little 25% may not make or break your calculation. But if I was writing a question on an exam, I might write it so that little 25% made a difference. I mean, that's how I am, right? Ask Jesse. Ask folks that I grade their work and I'm nitpicky. You might say, yeah, Paul would do that. All right. So, but that's how we get it, that additional 25%. So it's not like you're looking for that term 25%. It's kind of just trade knowledge. You know that you have to take the largest motor at 125%, but you took all the motors at 100%. So somewhere in there, I've got to get that extra 25% somewhere. And that's how we do it. Okay, makes sense? All right. All right, folks. It's just that easy. I shouldn't say that easy because calculations aren't easy. Dude, check it out. Look. That crap ain't easy. Look at all that. I worked it out, baby. Look. So don't let anybody ever tell you that calculations are not tough. They're tough. They are definitely tough, and you all should be commended for putting effort into it. You know, there's a lot of people that go through and just kind of get through and luckily make it. You guys and gals that are, you know, y'all are a different breed. Y'all get it. And I hope you all realize that this is not just to help you pass an exam. This is hopefully giving you the tools to use out in the field, right? Out in the field and become a much better electrician. And again, at the point that I'm no longer breathing on this world, I believe that I can go out feeling like I helped people. And I want you to feel like you help people. Swartzy, for example, helps guys on his job sites all the time. I know y'all do too. That's your mission. Everybody's an educator, whether they like it or not. The difference is making sure that you educate with facts and not fiction, and don't just become a TikTok-trician. I'm just saying. All right, folks, I appreciate all of you. Hopefully you got something out of this episode. You'll be able to watch it on the replay. Till next time, folks, stay safe. God bless, and I appreciate all of you. Hopefully you'll have a wonderful rest of your week. And remember, we're not going to be here next Wednesday or the Wednesday after, but I will have an episode coming up for you, okay? I will have an episode coming up for you. And I still will be monitoring the chat rooms. I'll still be monitoring the Sparky Hub, all those type of things. Make sure you get the mobile app. Stay in touch with the mobile app. There's also a chat feature built into the mobile app, so you don't have to go to those other features. You can do it right through the app. Make sure you get the app. It's free. That's all I got to say. All right, folks. I appreciate all of you. Till next time, stay safe. God bless.